Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sumukascha Ekadantascha Kapilo Gajakarnakaha Lambodharascha Vikato Vignarajo Vinayakaha Dhumaketurganadhyakshaha Phalachandro Gajananaha Vakratundaha Surpakarno Herambaha Skandapurvajaha Suklambaradharam Vishnum Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopasantaye Yatsatvradavaktradhya Parishadhya Parasatam Vignam Nignanti Satatam Vishvaksenam Tamasraye Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheswaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We were in slokam number 31. With Swami's grace, let's continue. Rajagriha Bhojanadishu Tata Eva Drishtatvate. The Griha is a beautiful word. Griha means home. Griha means, Grihnati, something that's attractive, that absorbs you. And why all of us feel very comfortable, and really even the phrase, be at home, is a phrase we say, that's our natural state. The place where we were born and brought up with so much love and all that, we call it as our home. And then you get married and you set up your own home, the children are there. What is it? It is not just a bundle of mortar and bricks and all that. There is something else that to the place of rest, place of equilibrium, place of peace and happiness. That is our natural state. So when we grow up and leave the place where we grow up and come back after some time, how do we feel? Going back home, how does it feel? We are all returning home eventually to our original place where we came from, which is the lotus feet, because that is the final place of rest. And the Raja Griha is Drishtatvate. Just assume that for a minute the king has gone out, or he is, whether it's gone hunting or gone to other places or whatever, and he is returning. And Griha Drishtatvate, he sees it. Okay, how does he feel? Same way, Bhojanadishu, when you just look at food, and if you're hungry, just by looking at the food, will your hunger go away? See, bhakti is like that. Just by hearing about it and reading about it, it does not add anything at all. We must experience. The experience is very, very important. That's what comes in slokam number 32. Na tena raja paritoshaha kshuddha shantihi va. Na tena raja paritoshaha kshuddha shantihi va. Na tena raja paritoshaha kshuddha shantihi va. Those are the padangal. The tena, just by having the knowledge that the royal palace is there, my home is there, Raja Paritoshaha na, the king does not get satisfaction or fulfillment. Just by knowing, yes, the palace is there, he has to go and reside, isn't it? So just by knowing that alone is not enough, by understanding it. Va or Kshuddha Santihi. You are very hungry, and that hunger is not going to be fulfilled or satisfied just by the knowledge of food. The food has to be taken in. As Swami says, we make puri, chapati, potato, masala, whatever we make and eat, just by talking about puri masala, your hunger is not going to be satisfied. You have to put that into your mouth, right, isn't it? And the nutrition comes in when you digest it. That's the second part. First, I have to put my little toe, so to speak, in this ocean, this samudram of love and peace and happiness. And then I can begin to experience it. The personal experience is very important. That is what these two slokams talk about. So, Rajagriha Bhojanadishu Tatha Eva Drishtatvat Na Tena Raja Paritoshaha Kshudha Santihi Va. Slokam number 33. Tasmat Sa Eva Grahaya Mumukshibhihi. Tasmat Saiva Grahaya Mumukshubhihi. Padangal Tasmat Sa Eva Grahaya Mumukshubhihi. Tasmat, therefore. Just by, therefore here meaning what? When Narada is teaching us about bhakti, he is also giving us a very important warning. Tasmat, therefore, just don't be satisfied by hearing about it, by listening about it, by reading about it, reading volumes and volumes of books. What good is it? I mean, really, other than all the pieces of information you put into your head, makes your head swollen. And you have the pride of so-called scholarship, which is nothing. It's not scholarship at all. But that's what you're suffering from. So it means nothing. Just hearing, listening, reading, talking about it. These are all nothing. Tasma, therefore, mumukshibhihi, people who really or desirous, sincerely want to embrace the lotus feet and achieve freedom from the birth-death cycle, from the samsara cycle, and being free from actions. That mumukshibhihi, those people who really want that freedom, sa eva, sa, that denotes a bhakti. That Narada has been teaching us all through. Sa, he denotes that. Sa eva, that only that bhakti, only that devotion, bhakti, prapatti, whatever you want to call it, there are different types of bhakti, that's all. Grahaya. Therefore, people who desire freedom must grahaya, must grasp and grab and not let go. Hold it firmly to that bhakti only. That bhakti only. Tasmat mumukshibhihi grahaya sa eva. Therefore, people who desire, really sincerely want this freedom, at some point in time, it is going to happen. If not in this birth, it will happen at some time with Bhagwan's grace, or hopefully sooner than later, that we will get disgusted with all the attractions that we get involved in. They lose their charm after a while. Really, they do. And then you say, where is it? What should I do? Then the desires of freedom comes. Mumukshibhi, I want to get away from all this. I want to be free from all this. I don't want to be bound. When desire comes, then grahaya sa eva. Hold on, grasp and grab that bhakti only. There is a very beautiful, sublime, divine teaching given to us by Tulasidasar in Ramacharitamanasam that I want to share with you. And first I will read the Sanskrit and then give it to you in English. Nanya Spriha Raghupate Hridaye Smatiye Satyam Vadhami Cha Bhavanikalanda Bhavanikalandha Atma Bhaktim Prayacha Raghu Pungava Nirbharam me Kamadi Dosha Rahitam Kuru Manasancha. O Raghukula Nayaka, in my heart there is no other desire. I tell you Satyam. I speak Satyam. I tell you the truth. You are the one who resides in everybody's. You are the Antaratma, the indweller for every being. O Raghukula Sreshta, I am surrendering to you. And remove all the load that I am carrying, all the burden that I am carrying. How can I remove that? That can be removed only by bhakti. That bhakti you give me, and also remove all the impurities like kamam and all that, all the doshangal, all the impurities in my mind that keep me away from you. Remove all that, make it pure, is what Tulasidasa prays to Rama. There is once in a train, we all have traveled trains in India, and you know how it is, people bring their baggages, and one rustic village person gets into the train and he's carrying a huge load, rolled up in a bundle of cloth, but very heavy thing on his head. So he finds a seat and he sits down and he still keeps the load, the thing that he was carrying on his head. And next to him were people, who are all educated and living in the city and all that. You also generally have a kind of a look down opinion about rustics and villagers. So one city person was sitting there, and he kind of laughs at it, and he says, "Hey, why are you carrying this load on your head? Just put it down, and the train will carry it. Where to sit down and relax." And then he says, the rustic man says, "Oh, no, I don't want to make it heavy on the train. That's why I'm carrying it on my head." There are two lessons to be learned from this small story. One is, do I have the faith to put all my burdens, all my worries, and all the other, my pride and whatever else I have, because all my sense of scholarship, my sense of self-importance, my sense of rejection, whatever you want to call it, I am somebody, that feeling, that burden that I'm carrying, and the burden I'm carrying that I'm separate from God, I'm different, God and I are not one. The feeling of separation, that itself is a burden, huge burden. So, all these burdens, do I have the faith to really put it at the lotus feet? That is what Tulasidasa is praying. Give me that bhakti. What is it, that faith with I put my load on the train and sit comfortably and not carrying the burden? The train is carrying it. Bhagavan will carry the load. Why should I worry about it? Do I have that faith? That is the important lesson from that anecdote. And that is what Tulasidasa says in Ramacharitamanus. Tasmat sayeva grahaya mumukshubhihi. That bhakti is the only way. That's what we must grasp and grab. Sutram number 34. Tasyaha sadhanani gayanti acharyaha. Up to this point, Narada has been teaching us, or not teaching us, as giving us indications, trying to describe, commenting on the lakshanam, the characteristic traits of bhakti. This is what bhakti is, and this is what bhakti is not. And bhakti will do this. It will never have abhimanam. It will never have self-praise. It will always be humble. All those things he taught us, right? Different traits and characteristic attributes, if you would, of a real bhakti. And he knows that the different descriptions he gave can never be complete. Therefore, he gave us an illustration of Gopika's bhakti. He said that's what bhakti is. He gives us an example, illustration. Now, he is going to teach us on the sadhanas, on the pathways of imbibing and grasping and making our own this bhakti. Tasyaha sadhanani gayanti acharyaha. Tasyaha, to grasp it, to grab it, to imbibe that bhakti, sadhanani, various pathways, gayanti has been sung, has been described, has been illustrated, has been explained by acharyaha, people who have practiced bhakti in their own life. It seems one person asked Bhagavan, Swami, grant me bhakti. Bhagavan gives us so many things. Varadaya Namaha, we say so many things we ask. Whatever we ask, he gives. So we call him Varada and all that. But Swami answered, no, I don't give bhakti, he said. One thing he does not give. You cannot go to Bhagavan to give bhakti. Not possible. He says, I facilitate an environment where the bhakti will come out of you. And the only person who can give you bhakti is another bhakta. Go to another bhakta. He will give you bhakti. So we go to gopis, then we get bhakti. When you hear gopi stories, automatically bhakti wells up from within you. So that is one thing that you cannot get from Bhagavan. Yes, you will get mumuksham, you will get freedom, you will get mukti, everything, all those things Bhagavan will give you, but not bhakti. That has to only in satsang, only in the company of other bhaktas will you get it. Because it is difficult for us to find a true bhakta. There are lots of pseudo bhaktas. Okay, we should avoid their company like a plague. Doesn't matter what the social pulls and pushes are, we must avoid. If you want to be true to yourself and true to Bhagavan, then you must avoid those companies. But you must also seek the company of a good bhakta. And that is why Bhagavatam and the stories of various devotees are all given to us. When you hear their stories and when you read about them, automatically you keep their company. And what happens? You slowly start imbibing that bhakti. That's the only sadhana that you have to do. So Acharyaha, people who are bhaktas, who are in the bhakti yoga, in the bhakti margam, who are living that love for God. That's what all the things that Narada talked about with all the Lakshanangal, without any other thought, nothing else attracts them. All the things we saw, people who are conducting their life in that ocean of love for God and thinking of God all the time, regardless of what comes, those people, Gayanti, they have explained to us what are the pathways. Okay? And here, the Acharyaha, again, Puman, Siddho Bhavati, Trupto Bhavati, Amruto Bhavati, we saw earlier that Puman is... So Acharyaha are not limited to one particular type of group of people. No. It can be a child, it can be an elderly person, it can be a woman, it can be a man, it can be a scholar, it can be an absolute illiterate person, it can be a wealthy person, it can be a poor person, doesn't matter. There are different sections, types of people, but only commonality among them is bhakti. And so in Sutram number 83, which we'll come to later, Narada himself describes some of the acharyas. He names them: Sanat Kumara, Vedavyasa, Sukar, Sandilya, Gargar, the Vishnu Rishi, Kaundinya, Adisesha, Uddhavar, Aruni, Bali Chakravarti, Hanuman, Vibhishana, like that. He gives different acharyas' names. Vibhishana was a Rakshasa, we all know that. And Hanuman was a monkey, we all know that. But doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Those are all embodiments. What is important is what is embodied. The Kshetrajna, the indweller, that is the commonality. So, it can be in any type. That's where we learn from. Tasyaha sadhanani gayanti acharyaha. Sutram number 35. So, what is a sadhana? It has been described by the personal lives and experiences of these acharyas. So, what is it like? No, he is not continuing talking about sadhanas now, the various pathways to attain this bhakti. Tattu Vishayatyagate Sangatyagate cha. Tattu Vishayatyagate Sangatyagate cha. Padangal Tattu Vishayatyagate Sangatyagate cha. Tattu, but, right? Tat, that, but that is, how is it? But this is the way it is. But, we say, Vishaya Tyagat, Vishayam. Vishayangal or can be Vishamam, can also be Visham. Putting it in Sanskrit things. Vishayangal are the various things that we are involved in. Not only news items, but everything. Everything to do with this manifested world of appearances and disappearances that we are involved in. Everything is a Vishayam. Right? That Vishayam in Bhagavan's creation, everything and anything is both a trap and a tool. It's a trap if it's like opening removing the latch on your door. If you are opening the door that is locked, if you turn the key to your right side, let's say, the door opens. If you keep turning it to the left side, the door doesn't open. Like that, everything in the life, if I keep turning it or taking it the wrong way, it traps me back into this world of away from lotus feet. But if I turn the key the right way and whatever Bhagavan in it, then that takes me closer to the lotus feet. That is why everything in the universe is a university. Bhagavan is there everywhere. Tyagat, the removing, giving up these various things that happening around us. Tyagat, giving it up. How do you give it up? But by looking for the Bhagavan who is present in that Vishayam. Whatever it happens, if a news item comes or a text message comes, it doesn't matter. It's no different from, as we discussed earlier, also given in Bhagavad Gita beautifully, Jnana Vijnana Sahitam. Swami says in Bhagavad Gita, the very first slokam of chapter 9, and Jnana Vijnana Sahitam. It is beautiful. It is when you look at a sculpture and you enjoy the sculpture, okay, that is one form of enjoyment. But if you look at it as a metal, for example, the sculpture vanishes, right? Then you look only at the metal. It is like what you see in any given thing, the Bhagavan is present. So if you look for him, then that becomes a Vishaya Tyagam. Sangha Tyagate. Same way, Sangam is very important. Sangam means junction, attaching to. Anything and everything we do, we are automatically attached to it. That's the problem we have. That's why Sarva Sangha Parityagi, Bhagavan says. Sarva Aramba Parityagi. These are descriptions he gives us, which means whatever action we do, automatically I'm attached to the result of it when I begin, or attached to the feeling I'm doing it, attached to the saying, so many things come. So we must deliberately train ourselves not to be attached to either the beginning of an action or the end of the action or the doership of the action. The giving up that attachment, and that can happen only when you attach yourself to Bhagavan. So by focusing on attaching it to Bhagavan, you achieve both things, Vishaya Tyagam as well as Sangha Tyagam. So, Tattu, that is a sadhana that Narada is describing here. Sadhana, the pathway, how to do it. Tattu, Vishaya Tyagat, Sangha Tyagat, Cha. Now, here, in Viveka Chudamani, it describes it let me share with you what Viveka Chudamani says here. Basically, we have covered it. If you're really sincerely interested in freedom, being really, how nice it is, when we are free, right? We are all now burdened with so many things, most if not all of them self-created, right? So, but if you're really interested in freedom, then the Vishayam that we talked about, and I mentioned two things. Vishayam can also be Vishamam, which means some of the things that is happening can also be very mischievous, because they're all playing mischief on us by keeping us away from Bhagavan, right? In that sense, all the Vishayangal in our life are really playing Vishamam only, which Vishamam means mischief. And they are fooling us. They are playing hide and seek. Bhagavan is playing hide and seek, and we fall for it. And he's like Krishna plays hide and seek, then he's still doing the same thing. We think it's only in Bhagavatam and we go and listen to a lecture and we enjoy and come back. No, he's still playing the same hide and seek with us every minute, each one of us. We think we may be old or young, it doesn't matter. He's still playing the same young Krishna. Child is playing hide and seek with each one of us every minute. By giving us different things to distract us away from Him, and we fall for it. So all those things, the distractions, the play that's going on, is a mischievous play. Mischievous, not in the sense of a bad intention, but a game, a beautiful, enjoyable game. Because we still seek Him, right? We don't give up. None of us, even the most violent person, gives up the search for God. It is continuous till you find it, till the game is over. You're always playing it, whether you realize it or not, continuously and enthusiastically. So that Vishamam is there. Then, it is also, Vishayam is also Visham, which means poison. Why is it poison? What is poison? Poison is something that is unhealthy, that removes your health, correct? And what is it that removes unhealthy here? Anything that takes me away from the thought of Bhagavan is poisonous, isn't it? And in that sense, the Vishayangal, the Vishayam, does two things, both Vishamam as well as it gives us Visham. But the moment I look at the Bhagavan who's present in that Vishayam, right, which is the Visesham part of the Vishayam. Visesham is a sacred speciality of anything, and that is Bhagavan, that is the effulgence, and that is what the whole Visvarupa Yoga in chapter 11 is all about, right? Where am I present? He is present everywhere. The moment I look at that, Vishayam no longer becomes a Vishamam or a Visham, but becomes Visesham, very sacred. So, that is the sutram from basically, and to do that, we have to develop some characteristic traits which we discussed early on in the preparation and the introduction to, not introduction, but in preparing to listen and hear Narada's teachings. We covered that things like contentment, tripti is very important, compassion, daya to others, these are patience and straightforwardness, arjavam, should not do anything that is adharmic. You should always do things that are correct, according to what is prescribed. And the sense control and mind control, these are all important. That's what Viveka Chudamani says. Tattu Vishaya Tyagate Sangha Tyagate Cha. Now, Sutram 36. Avyavrita Bhajanat. Avyavrita Bhajanat. That is Sutram number 3. Avyavrita means continuously, without break. Satatam. That is what it means. Continuously. Sarvada Sarvakaleshu Sarvatra Harichintanam. That is what that Avyavrita means. Without stopping. Or whatever you do, Ramakrishna Paramahansa beautifully says. You may be doing many things in your life. So many things we do from morning to night. Do all that. Do that with one of your hands, so to speak. One hand. The other hand, always keep massaging Bhagavan's lotus feet. And when you're not doing anything else, use the other hand also to massage his feet. And beautiful. Try this, a simple exercise which I'll suggest to you, which I practice. Very simple. Next time you drive a car and you're driving on a road, all of a sudden the red signal comes. Don't be impatient. Don't get annoyed. Don't get frustrated. Instead, use that time to do your bhajans, to do your namavali, Krishnaya Namaha, Govindaya Namaha, whatever you want to say. Sing the bhajans, recite Vedam, or just say Namasmaranam, Hare Rama, whatever you want to say. Whenever you get a chance to wait in a line or standing in the security line in the airport, doesn't matter. Wherever you get a chance to wait, that's a time given to you by Bhagavan to think of Him and do the Namasmarana. So like that you practice yourself. So Avyavrita Bhajanate. Think of, love God in your mind. Think of Him, love Him with your mind. And that is the Avyavrita. These are all simple practical exercises we can put into practice straight away. Very, very, very simple. One person actually I learned from him. He taught me very beautifully. We all brought up in Tamil Nadu, we use the word ayyo, ayyo, like that, He says, don't say that. Instead say Rama Rama. What a beautiful thing. Another thing I learned from a very fine couple from Sri Lanka, very elderly couple a few years ago. They never will, the way they speak, they will never say yes. They will say Omo. Like Om was there built into every sentence that they had. Like that we can practice. Avyavrita Bhajanate. Sutram number 37, I will read it and we will take it up in our next session because time is up. Lokepi Bhagavad Guna Sravana Kirtanate. This is what we just covered, and we're going to do that a little bit more tomorrow. Lokepi Bhagavad Guna Sravana Kirtanate. That is Sutra number 37, which Bhagavan's grace we will take up tomorrow. Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Arihi Om. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om.